Chatterbooks is a national network of children's reading groups. Most of the children involved are primary school age, but it does go up to about 14 years old. The reading groups are all run in libraries and schools. They're run by fantastic people who are passionate about reading, like teachers, teaching assistants, library staff, and some volunteers as well. There are various sort of basics about Chatterbooks. It involves small groups of children, so 10 to 15 in a group. It always involves talking about books, so it's book discussion, but fun activities as well. It's not about all reading the same book and then talking about that one book. It's about everyone comparing and being excited about the books that they're reading and recommending them to others. So it's the aim of it is to make reading fun and to encourage children to read for pleasure outside of school.
Before I started Chatterbooks, I didn't really like reading, and then when I finished Chatterbooks, I like reading I like reading more and more and more. And I couldn't, because I remember the times that I didn't like reading, and they've changed because of that.
We've been working closely with the Reading Agency over the last few years to help them to evaluate formally the impact of running reading groups in school contexts on children's reading achievement. A really significant project that we've been working on with them over the last year or so has been the Chatterbooks Project in secondary schools. So this was a project where we were particularly interested in whether or not the Chatterbooks approach was one that could resource reading achievement and reading activity in children who had just started secondary school, but they'd come into secondary school having had maybe less than an ideal previous experience of reading. So that might be because they have been late starters, it might be because they've got quite negative attitudes to books and texts, and they might come from homes where they've simply not had the opportunity. So we deliberately focused on these vulnerable readers, these children who maybe there's a little bit of room to re-engage them with books and to make them a bit more enthusiastic and a bit happier about the idea of engaging with reading.
When I first didn't come into Chatterbooks, I didn't really enjoy reading. I didn't really read that much, but once I went into Chatterbooks, I started reading much more, and I started to enjoy like comedy books and fiction and non-fiction and loads of like scary books and fantasy books, and I quite enjoyed them.
Because the kids have absolutely loved it, and it's having an impact on how much they like reading, how much they enjoy books, so it's been really good.
Chatterbooks is a really good thing.
One of the problems that we've observed informally in schools is that children have they see reading as school activity, they see it almost as punitive activity. They have so many books or so many pages they have to read each night. They get checked that they've done it, and it's really associated with keeping your teacher happy. It's not something that the children have come to take ownership of, and one of the fantastic things about Chatterbooks is it gives children a real sense of ownership and choice about their reading materials.
And it was just nice because we do so many like tests and assessment and get this right, do that. It was just nice to see them just loving an aspect of English, which it doesn't happen that often in the days of like assessment. So that's been nice.
Choice is really important because we know reading for pleasure is fundamentally linked to later reading achievement, particularly by the time children come into secondary school.
We have a lovely relationship with Coventry University, and we've been working with the university for 2 years now. And we have a shared interest in researching the impact of attending reading groups on children. We particularly want to look at their attitudes to reading. Can being in a reading group encourage children to read more and extend their reading and just give them a love of reading, so it's not just a skill that they need to practice, but it's something that they love doing.
We have other children who probably, i.e. boys, they weren't interested in any other book apart from maybe a footballer, but now they're reading autobiographies about different people in life. It could have been politicians, Anne Franks, people like that. So it's been great to see the improvement, and the teachers have even said children who were rather quiet, who would only read a book maybe every month, now are eager to come into the library, get a new book, and they're looking at different areas as well. So it's been great.
I just like reading. It's because it's not only like fun, it also like helps me with my English, and it gives me ideas of what to write my stories about and how to set them, and like how much detail should I add on what scene or on what part, just to give the reader just that thing that will make them hooked into the story.
The children's response to the Chatterbooks programme was absolutely fantastic. The buzz around school about the programme was so great that actually lots of other children in their year group couldn't wait to take part in the project as part of the control group. So word spread, they wanted to see what was happening, they wanted to be a part of it, they kept poking their head around the door and saying, oh, what's going on here?
It's because like you can like get involved with the book, it feels like you're actually in the book there, and you can imagine like stuff like how the characters are feeling and everything.
It's a virtuous circle. The more that you read, the better you become. But of course you're only going to read if you love what you're reading, and that's what we can bring to the children through Chatterbooks reading group activity.
What we've observed informally is that we're already seeing change in the children's behaviours and their attitudes to books. There seems to be a real sense of that shift in identity of the children, starting to feel that actually they are readers and books are for them, and it's about finding the right genre and the thing that's going to help them cue in. One of the things that was really important and really changed children's ideas about reading and books was actually having the opportunity to meet children's authors in the flesh and have conversations and get books signed, and that real sense of pride of meeting someone who was famous and starting to see books as having things that had kudos and had meaning and worth to them, I think was quite important.
Probably because I never saw an author like before. I went to meet the two Steves before, and they're really funny because they tell you they'll just speak really fast and talk about reception kits, and it's just fun because they're not boring. And I thought there's just going to be boring people that write on computers.
This is our Year 5 Chatterbooks book, Chatterbooks scrapbook, and it tells inside the book it tells us all the things we've been doing for the past few months and through all the things we've done.
It's important because one of the things that we know from academic work on academic self-esteem in particular is that it declines from the point at which children enter school through their primary school career and through their secondary school career. And one of the things that we're really keen to try and do in our work with the Reading Agency is to buck this trend, to put strategies in place in the classroom that means that instead of us seeing this steady decline in attitudes to academic achievement, attitudes to school, attitudes to academic activities like reading, finally we give them activities that mean that they start to think more positively about school. And literacy is such a fundamental to everything that a child does in school, that if we can change their attitudes to print, change their attitudes to reading, hopefully we're going to help prop up their academic self-esteem and give them better longer-term outcomes.
Because when you go into a party, it might send you an invite, you wouldn't be able to go to it because you wouldn't know how to read the invite and what time it is.
If you're just bored, it makes life more fun when you're just reading. It makes you feel like you're in the book doing stuff that you won't normally get to do.
And this is my favourite book because I would just, it's like freedom.